Tim, welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. Today we're discussing the Rolex Oyster Perpetual Sky-Dweller dual-time annual calendar. You can see and you can purchase this exceptional white gold Rolex Chronometer annual calendar on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full sales listing for this watch with additional accessories included, high resolution images for your desktop, and naturally full pricing details for this extraordinary white metal black dial Rolex. Now, originally released in 2012, the Sky-Dweller was, in my opinion, and again, my dream is not your dream, but I'm going to editorialize, dramatically freshened in 2014 with the addition of this white gold black dial, black leather strap variant, which is simply scintillating and may be considered by purists of dark dials to be the definitive Sky-Dweller. And although white gold had previously been issued, the combination with a leather strap means that the watch wears differently, looks differently, and quite honestly takes on a completely different character than the massive and overwrought variant on a bracelet. Now you can see across the round of the case from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock, the watch measures 42 millimeters, but it wears far larger. In terms of thickness, the timepiece is approximately 15.5 millimeters thick, and from lug to lug it measures 51 millimeters, which is large but not overwhelming. The dominant dimension of the watch is the thickness. That's awfully meaty for a Rolex, which tend to be, even in their complicated and sports watch variants, a little bit slimmer in profile. However, the watch feels like $1 million on the wrist, and while that's far from the truth, this is one of the more dear Rolex models in terms of pricing, but with good reason. Now you'll note that Rolex straps are never simply straps, as there's a beautiful closing of the crevice between the flank of the case and the end of the strap. It's designed to look highly integrated with the end pieces, such that the watch maintains the integrity and the cohesion of the Rolex aesthetic on the bracelet, albeit with a strap. Now you'll also note that the strap is quite substantial, maximally bolstered. I often say minimally bolstered on thinner straps. This one is maximally bolstered, and you can see how nicely the swell of the strap matches the swell of the lugs. Beautiful rectangular scale black alligator leather, monotone stitch, folded flanks. It's paired with a very substantial Rolex white gold folding single fold deployant clasp. Very solid, closes with a snap, completely finished and polished throughout its interior and exterior. It's built to the standard you expect of a contemporary Rolex product, and it also has quite a bit of mass to it. And if you look at the watch from this angle, you can see why when the watch is on your wrist, it's good to have the heavy clasp on the bottom to counterweight the mass of the watch head. This is important because those who like to wear their watches loose won't have to worry about the watch wanting to tip over or capsize due to a top-heavy weight distribution. None of that here. Now, Rolex white gold is something extraordinary. It's what's conventionally known as gray gold within the industry, and that's to say that it's homogeneous straight through. It doesn't have quite the blinding silvered gleam of rhodium plate, but nor can you wear through it to a milky yellow substrate as you can with rhodium plated white gold. Because Rolex creates the alloy and pours it in its own foundry, it's both homogeneous and fabricated entirely in-house. Again, scratch it and there's simply more white gold underneath. The dial scintillates. I mean, unbelievable presence, character, and it in many ways fixes some of the aesthetic flaws of the light-dialed variants. It's a matte black with applied high-polished Arabic numerals, nicely carved out by the GMT ring at center. You'll also note the applied Rolex 5-point coronet and a very small channel outboard of each hour. You'll note there's a small well, and at 2 o'clock you'll note a small red patch. That is a mobile portion of the annual calendar system, such that each one of the hours corresponds to one of the months of the year. So 2 is February. We're currently in February, and today is currently February 23rd. Now, after the 28th, 29th, 30th, or 31st of each month, you may or may not have to fix the watch, which is to say, make the single annual adjustment necessary during the jump from February to March. That's the difference between an annual calendar and a perpetual. An annual calendar requires a correction once per year. A perpetual, no corrections, and a regular complete calendar, date, month, requires 5 corrections per year. Now, the Rolex system is known as Helios because it uses a set of orbital planetary style gears to drive the date and month system. Now there is a GMT second time zone mounted at center, sort of like a collar around the cannon pinion. It's in a 24-hour format and it can be set separately from the local time. In fact, I've deliberately set 9 a.m. at center, and then I have set, as you can see, 6 p.m. on the GMT ring. You can have them set separately, and it's a great travel watch for that purpose. It should be noted that the local time, the time at center, is what drives the month and the date, and yes, you can drive them in both directions. Now let's talk a little bit about how this watch works. It uses the second generation Rolex ring command bezel, which is to say it takes the underlying technology from the Yachtmaster 2, whereby you use the bezel, you rotate the bezel to actuate different functions of the movement. You have that here as well. Now, with the bezel turned all the way clockwise to a stop, you use the crown to wind in the first position. Now, you pull the crown out to the outermost position. You'll note the movement doesn't hack, different from every other Rolex watch. I turn the crown 1/4 turn counterclockwise. Now I have the ability to drive the date forward or backwards, and you'll note we'll go forward, that red patch within the wheel next to 2. As I drive forward through the dates, we approach the end of the month. Watch that red patch. Now it jumps to March. We've made the jump to March, and that is the single correction necessary for an annual calendar each year. But there's more. You turn another 1/4 turn counterclockwise. Now you can independently set the local hour hand. See how I can turn it forward or backwards without disrupting the position of the GMT? It reads 6 o'clock in my reference or home time, no matter what I do. Now, finally, one more 1/4 turn, and I can move all of the functions in sync. Watch that one more time. You'll note when I make that final 1/4 turn, see the seconds hand, to move all of the functions in sync, the hacking feature is activated. The watch only hacks with the ring command bezel turned 4 1/4 turns counterclockwise. That's the only position in which you can synchronize precisely to an accurate reference time using the stop seconds feature. Now, of course, when you're done, you turn the ring command bezel all the way back to its first default position, which is fully justified clockwise, and then you screw the crown back down. Now the caliber 9001 inside this case is the beneficiary of 100-meter water resistance. So if you put this on a textile strap, suddenly you do have an aquatic appropriate timepiece, quite versatile. It is a chronometer, and with the combination of white gold and black dial, one might even say it has a little bit of an aesthetic of a black and white cookie, so it's the cookie chronometer. 40 jewels, 380 parts. It is the second most highly jeweled Rolex movement, and in terms of parts count, the 9001 is 380, the most complex outright, featuring a few dozen more than the 4161 in the Yachtmaster 2. 72-hour power reserve, or 3 days, parachrome blue anti-magnetic hairspring for resistance to shock-induced timing deviation, positionally and gravitationally induced timing deviation, and magnetically induced timing deviation. The balance, a free-sprung architecture with microstella adjustment nuts and dual anchored on both sides, is what gives the watch its resistant to shock and vibration-induced deviation. The watch also features a COSC certificate, but Rolex also internally certifies it as a fully cased-up watch, which is to say, although COSC testing to receive a chronometer certificate only pertains to the bare movement, the Rolex Sky-Dweller, as with all Rolex chronometers, is cased up and tested to ensure that the chronometer timing standards are maintained even as a fully cased watch. This is an extraordinary combination of aesthetic grace, mechanical complexity, Rolex panache, and reliability. And to be perfectly honest, if you were to own just one Sky-Dweller, this is the definitive version. The market has spoken, and this version is in greatest demand. So while dreams may vary, there's no denying, as far as Rolexes go, this one simply stuns. See it, fall in love, and take it home on our website.